For day 8 of our Nova Scotia Four Corners trip, today we would do a little backtracking, riding along Lake Bredor, off of Cape Breton Island and on to Nova Scotia proper. We would pick up Route 344 and head down towards Halifax along the coast. At least that was the original plan. As we left the Cabot Trail Motel, the skies were overcast and there was a few sprinkles in the air. Now, while we're riding along the lake here under these showers, let me tell you a kind of amusing story. At least it amused myself, Kevin, and Todd at dinner. See, we were talking with Joanne, that waitress I told you about in the last episode, and she was telling us about how, there was a lot of people who did farming and things in this area, and that's how they made their living. And just out of the blue, Todd says, "Oh, I dated a farmer's daughter once." And without missing a beat, Joanne looked at him and said, "Oh, how was she?" Well, at that moment, all three of us guys, we kind of gave each other the eyeball and I think agreed silently that all of us should just let that one lie. As you can see here, the sun did peek out every now and then, but we would end up battling those clouds for the good part of the morning. But for now, the ride along the lake was gorgeous. As we crossed the bridge heading off of Cape Breton Island, I thought about the last time I crossed the bridge going in this direction and, of course, the causeway that follows. Well, when we did that back in 2013, there was a pod of pilot whales that had corralled some herring up against the causeway, and they were feeding on them. And it was just absolutely amazing to watch all of these whales right in that one area. I searched for the footage for that, and unfortunately I wasn't able to find it, so you'll just have to take my word. It was pretty cool. 344 was a great road that wound its way along the coastline. Now, our original plan was to cross over and get on 344 and ride that all the way down and pick up Route 16 near the town of Guysborough. By the time we reached 16, we had ridden about 100 miles without seeing a gas station, so we decided to pull over and ask a local for some help. Well, it turned out that there was a gas station just down the street from where we stopped in Guysborough proper, but we asked about what the gas situation was past that because we were going to be heading down into an area where there was no cell service, and we just didn't know what to expect. It turns out that this guy who tells us he's been living in the area for 15 years had never been south of Guysborough. So with this lack of information, we decided to change plans. We headed north on 16, and we would take that to 104 and then go over to Antigonish and pick up Route 7 south that I knew was a really nice road, and then take that into Halifax. So we're in Antigonish right now on our way to Halifax. We had a little bit of change in plans because people are honking at us. No, we had a little bit of change in plans. We were going to go along Route 16 over to Route 7 that would take us along the coast, but there was a ferry that was going to be involved and nobody could tell us if the ferry was running or not. And also we were having a problem with gas stations. We'd gone about 100 miles with no gas station. So along with having no cell service out that way, we said, well, maybe we'll do a little roundabout. So we ran up to Antigonish, and now we're back on Route 7, headed into Halifax. Looking back, this was indeed the best choice to make. Right, Route 7 was a much better road as far as its condition goes. You could travel at higher speeds, and the scenery was beautiful all the way up and down it. In the end, this detour cost us no time at all. Maybe our mileage went up a little bit, but we ended up getting into Halifax at the same time we would have if we would have stuck to the coastal route. Now, while we're riding down Route 7 headed south, let me catch you up on what's been going on with my Schuberth C30 helmet. So if you've been watching this channel, you know that I bought this helmet a while back because it was modular and I wanted to use it as my new touring helmet. Having a modular helmet makes it much easier to take fluids in while you're riding and, of course, then stay hydrated. So I went out and I bought this and I spent $500 on this helmet, but it never really fit right. It was always a little tight for me. I spent some time after I bought it letting it break in, and still it was a bit tight on me. So this trip was the helmet's one last shot in winning me over. If it could do well on these 2 weeks, well, then I was going to keep the helmet. Otherwise, I was going to discard it. So before leaving, I installed my CURTO communication system in the helmet, and that meant adding speakers. And even though I used the smaller speakers, still it made things a little bit tighter around the ears. There just isn't very much room in this helmet to install anything. So this ended up giving me some discomfort when I put my glasses on. Not immediately, but by the end of the day, the back of my ears were pretty sore. I played around between the two glasses that I brought with me, and I found the one that worked the best, but still, at the end of the day, again, I was a little sore, around the ears. So to alleviate this problem, I took out my knife while we were in Ald's Cove, and I did a little dissecting, a little surgery on the helmet, and I made the ear pockets a little bit bigger, which definitely helped. However, of course, I then got hit in the head with that bird, and it knocked the visor off and also damaged the mechanism that held the visor in place. It was working, but it was tenuous. So at this point in the trip, I just wanted the helmet to make it home, and then I was pretty sure it was going in the trash. Now, the reason I'm telling you about all this stuff now is because, well, these things played a role in this trip. Now, of course, after one of these longer trips, I usually do an equipment update after the fact and let you know how everything worked. But I decided this time, why not do it while we're traveling down the road and visiting all of these wonderful places. So one other problem child I have to tell you about is, of course, my CURTO Pack Talk. I mentioned earlier that the battery had started degrading and wasn't lasting more than about 5 or 6 hours. Well, at least that's what it was doing when we went to the Catskills. Well, on this trip, it just continued to get worse and worse, even with my best efforts to keep it charged whenever we stopped for lunch or to take a coffee break. Now, I will tell you, though, that this story does have a happy ending. When I got back home, I immediately got on the horn, or actually emailed CURTO, and we found out that my unit was still under warranty, and they very quickly got a new unit out for me. So, even though the CURTO Pack Talk Edge was a little bit of a pain in the ass on the trip, I got a brand new one. Thanks, CURTO. I really appreciate the great customer service. Now, during the course of our travels, we did come across somebody who needed our help. So being good bikers, we pulled over to lend a helping hand. The guy had dropped his bike on the side of the road, and there was a little bit of a slope and difficult to pick up by himself. So we jumped off and gave him a hand. While Kevin and I never dropped our bikes, we did run into a few situations where we couldn't get our kickstands down. The roads here, the shoulders slope away pretty abruptly in some places, so you really have to be careful on where you park. So we are in the middle of nowhere now at Ralph's Down East Diner. Cool little diner place, but it is a beautiful day now, so we're just sitting outside enjoying the sunshine. This morning was a little rainy, but today doing okay. Right, Kevin?
But according to the locals, it was not windy.
No, yeah. We stopped at a gas station and said, "Oh yeah, we're doing great except for the wind," and the guy goes, "This ain't wind."
Depends where you're from.
And we did our good deed for the day. There was a couple that happened to be from Connecticut, actually. As we were passing by, we noticed that one of their bikes was over on the side. He had parked alongside the road and got off the bike, and it tipped over and it was down a slope. So we helped him pick it back up. So again, our good deed. Well, that hit the spot, so back on the bikes and off to Halifax. And we did indeed make it to Halifax, which is a little bit busier than I remember it from 13 years ago. But we got in with really not much problem at all and checked into the hotel. We were staying at the Chocolate Lake Hotel. It's a Best Western Plus right there just outside of downtown Halifax. It's a great place to go to visit Halifax, but also there's easy access to go over to Peggy's Cove and some of the other beach towns. On top of that, they have a great restaurant right there on site with a deck where you can sit out there and enjoy your dinner and, of course, the non-alcoholic beverage of your choice. So this morning we're here in Halifax and we're going to go out and do a ride out to some of the beach areas, hit Peggy's Cove, again, some other nice spots. And hopefully be back before the rain that's supposed to come in this afternoon. And then we'll hit the laundry services because it is definitely time to do a wash. So again, should be a beautiful day, bright and sunny right now. So this is what our route would look like today. We would leave the hotel, head down 253 to pick up 349, back up 306, and then we would go down 333 out to Peggy's Cove, and then eventually head back into Halifax once more. This very relaxing and enjoyable route would take us through many beautiful beachside communities. Now, it just happened that it was a weekend when we were available to visit Peggy's Cove. So it was a little bit crowded, but still, it's gorgeous. It's something that you need to go do if you've never been there before. The first recorded name for the harbor was in 1766, and it was called Pegg's Harbor. They think that it was probably named after St. Margaret, Peggy being short for Margaret. However, there is another popular story that says that there was a young girl who was the sole survivor of a shipwreck just off of the Cove. This young girl was too young to actually know her name, so the family who adopted her ended up calling her Peggy. Later, this young woman would marry a resident of the Cove, and eventually they would call it the Cove of Peggy or Peggy's Cove. After enjoying Peggy's Cove and having some lunch at the restaurant, we needed to head back because we had a date with a washing machine. But of course, there would be more good food. Good morning. So we had fun this morning. Kevin and I were both awake and about to get up, but at around 6:15, fire alarm started going off. So I opened the door, no smoke. I've been through this before at a hotel, so they get okay, false alarm. Yeah, we come down here to the lobby, and yeah, there are people congregating out here. We, of course, had our priorities. Had to grab a coffee, and now the fire department is leaving, so it looks like we're all safe. After things had settled down and we got some breakfast, we called up an Uber and we headed down into Halifax, and we started up at the Citadel, which if you haven't been there, it's pretty cool. The Citadel, or Citadel Hill, is a National Historic Site in Halifax, Nova Scotia. There were actually 4 forts built on this location over the years. The first one was founded in 1749 by the British and was referred to as Fort George. The 4th fortification that we see today is a concrete star fort, and it was officially called the Halifax Citadel. Construction of this current version started way back in 1828. Of particular interest to me was the Canadian Military Museum that is housed in the Citadel. See, I've had the pleasure to meet and ride with several members of the Canadian military over the years, and they're all really great people. In light of the ridiculous political posturing that is going on as of late, it is important to remember that our Canadian friends have stood by us in World War I, World War II, and all the way up to Afghanistan. These friends should be honored. After leaving the Citadel, we took a walk down to the Halifax waterfront. While we're in Canada, we had to get some poutine. So we went with the cheesy chicken bacon, so let's try it. Well, it's pretty darn good after that. Chicken's good. Yeah. I know. Too much poutine. So we're sitting outside today on our last day in Halifax, waiting for a gentleman to arrive, and we're going to have dinner with him. This is Cal Ollerhead, who actually put together this Four Corners trip. Has got a website out there, Nova Scotia fourcorners.ca, so definitely check that out. So we're looking forward to meeting him. Now today, Kevin and I got out and we went down to the Halifax waterfront, and we went to a couple of museums. We went to the Citadel and then to the Maritime Museum. So we had a good time and had some poutine. So while I'm waiting here, I smelled a little, cigarette smoke. And that's because I'm sitting next to the ashtray. And you know how we have in the United States the, warning label on the outside of the pack? Well, here in Canada, they're even more stringent. They've got it on every cigarette. So guys, this is Cal. He is the guy who put together the Nova Scotia Four Corners tour. And he's got a website out there. Tell him where that is, Cal.
Oh, Snowbird Biker.
Okay, that's your YouTube channel.
That's my YouTube channel.
You have a website for the Four Corners.
Yes,
trip,
Nova Scotia Four Corners Tour.
Right, .ca, right?
.ca,
yeah,
that's correct.
So you can check it out, learn more about the tour. I tell you, so far, we've only got 2 of them down. We have 2 to go, 2 spots to go. But it is really making us see a lot of Nova Scotia. Right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I developed it to try to help motorcycle tourism in Nova Scotia. And some people say, well, where do I go? And I thought, well, if I can set destinations in approximately the 4 corners of the province, and then you can decide what back roads you take just to get there.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're doing. So it's a lot of fun so far.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad you're doing it.
Well, thank you. Let's go in and get something to eat.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Cal, for taking the time to meet with us. And of course, we did get that good food. I mean, what else did you expect? Next time we get rejected, I meet myself, we drink a lot of Tim Hortons, and take a ferry ride. As always, get out there and keep squeezing that lemon.